If you somehow have missed it, we can follow up on the story. Now, I was away from my post yesterday, but I can follow up with it now. So defensive stalwart, pass rusher extraordinaire. Just ask him how good he is. He'll tell you. Micah Parsons. That's after the Cowboys had just gotten roasted on their home field yet again. Micah Parsons was asked what he would tell people wondering whether or not Mike McCarthy would be the Cowboys head coach in 2025. He's concerned about that. His response, he said, let me tell you what he said. We have the audio. So let's go. This is Micah Parsons, big star, Cowboy player, podcast guy. Here's Micah Parsons.
That's above my pay grade about if Mike is coaching again next year. But, all coaching aside, Mike can leave and go wherever he wants. But the guys, I kind of feel bad for guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year on their way out. Because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did.
That's right.
Those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
Okay. How do you really feel? Well, I guess not like that. Not like that. Because a follow-up, those words we just played for you have gone viral. Woo! Woo! All over the place. So Parsons, he's attempting to clarify what he actually meant by what you just heard, and do not believe your lying ears. Listen.
I never once brung up his past. And the question that was asked was about here in the Dallas Cowboys, did I see Mike McCarthy in our future? And I said, that's above my pay grade. Yeah. So never once did I ever intended or wanted to reflect on Mike McCarthy's career because I always knew it was a good one. I've always had a great relationship with Mike McCarthy, and I never even put that in question.
All right, so what you heard there, that was on his podcast, which 7 people listened to. Parsons said he never once threw or even intended to throw Mike McCarthy under the bus. Let us discuss. All right, so you've just heard the initial comment, and then you've heard the clarification. So you, on the esteemed panel, I ask you, Micah Parsons blaming the media for twisting what he said, his comments around about Mike McCarthy. What is your take on this situation with Micah Parsons? So I've got woodchipper, Crash Davis, and Campbell's Chunky Soup. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make burnt ends, which are just barbecue burnt ends. Man, they have a lot of that in Kansas City. Really good, really good. All right, so number one. Micah Parsons is a gift that keeps giving. And I would like to, on behalf of the Brotherhood of Overnight Gas Bags, say what a peach Micah Parsons is. My God, I cannot begin to tell you how much I appreciate and support the mouth of Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons in the sports radio community is 10 out of 10, okay? I believe he is either completely a moron, or maybe he's just really obtuse, which is not quite a moron, but it's wild. He did not throw Mike McCarthy under the bus. That is correct. What he did is he picked Mike McCarthy up and put him into a wood chipper, is what he did. Right into the wood chipper. Chip, 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 chip. That's what he did. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And this was friendly fire. This was friendly fire. Micah Parsons committed a self-inflicted wound. He did. All right, wowzers. And these are, well, it's the media. Hey, Micah, they played the soundbite. You said, those are your words. It's the media. And, of course, low information fans, otherwise known as idiots. Oh, yes, the media. Yeah, let me lick your toes. It's the media. All right, now, page 2. Is Micah Parsons' podcast a problem? So not for me. I'm looking for content. I'm in the content business, and Micah Parsons, not a problem. I think you should do more podcasts. I do 3, and I do this show, which is turned into a podcast, but I do 3 other podcasts. Do more. Do more than you're doing. Go above and beyond the Call of Duty. Of course, if I worked for the Dallas Cowboys, if I was Jerry Jones, I'd be like, this is unnecessary. This is unnecessary. But part of Jerry loves it because it's all about talking about the Cowboys. There's nothing on the field to talk about in terms of success. There's a lot of failure to talk about. You can talk a lot about that. But Micah Parsons is supposedly one of the great players. A couple of years ago, was it last year? First 2 weeks, the Cowboys beat the Jets and the Giants, and the media, the same media that is twisting the words around of Micah Parsons, told us that Micah Parsons was the greatest thing since Lawrence Taylor. And he was the Defensive Player of the Year. If you don't agree with that, you're a loser. And then they had to play the rest of the games. He has been this season a jag, just a guy. He's been hurt most of the time, and the impact plays far and few between. Micah Parsons really needs to watch an old movie from Hollywood called Bull Durham. That's what Micah Parsons. That's my advice. Watch Bull. Now, I don't want him to ever watch it because I like the fact that he doesn't do this, but it would, if I worked for the team, I'd be like, all right, here's what we're going to do. You're going to have to take notes. There's a pop quiz, and the pop quiz is all about the movie Bull Durham. And if you've never seen the movie, there's a scene in there that I'm going to reference. If you've seen it, you know exactly where I'm going. Right? That there's just a part of it where he doesn't know how to play the game. What's in the game? It's in the game. Now, he knows how to play football, I assume, but the media game, no. Does not have a poker face. Definitely. There's a scene in that movie which refers to jock talk, jock speak. Crash Davis giving advice as Nuke LaLoosh, right? And that he was giving advice there, or giving advice to Nuke LaLoosh, Crash Davis, of course, Kevin Costner. So in that famous scene, he said, you're going to have to learn your cliches. You got to learn your cliches, right? You're going to have to study them, and you're just going to have to know them. They're your friends. And Micah Parsons does not believe in that. Because if somebody says, hey, if you asked me and I was using cliches, and somebody asked me, say, hey, Mike, the question I have for you is, Mike McCarthy, would he be the Cowboy coach? You see him as the Cowboy coach in 2025. A lot of people are wondering. He says, I'm just wondering about next week. We got a game to play next week. I'm not worried about next year. I'm living in the moment. I'm bringing my A game. I am taking it one play at a time. That's what most of these boring athletes say. Micah Parsons is like, no, I don't want to win for him, man. I want to win for Zach Martin. That's who I want to win for. Screw Mike McCarthy. He hasn't put work in. And then you have the balls to say, well, you know, the media. We have the audio, dummy. We have the audio, moron. We have the audio. There's no media twisting involved. You said what you said. Own it. All right, now, final point. There was one thing that caught my attention on the field in Dallas. Mike McCarthy, who's, last I checked, still the coach. He hasn't been fired yet. We'll check. I know we'll be all over that. If any news breaks overnight, boy, we will be right over that. So anyway, Mike McCarthy told reporters that the plan is to keep the drowned cooperrush. Boy, did he drown out there against Philadelphia. Under center moving forward instead of Treylance. Now, the Cowboys traded a fourth-round pick to the team that plays their games in Northern California for the right to have Treylance on their roster. Treylance was also a player that the Miami Dolphins traded the draft rights to the San Francisco football team for $8 million draft picks, and then got upstaged by Mr. Irrelevant, who's Brock Purdy and is still there. Anyway, McCarthy says the plan is to keep cooperrush under center. He says we have a lot of faith in cooperrush, he said. Everybody believes in him. That's a lie. How could you not, considering how he has performed? Mike McCarthy was getting a massage rather than coaching the game. So cooperrush, if you believe Mike McCarthy, will remain as QB1 for Dallas over Treylance. The question is why? Why? And I'm going to go with the P word, not that P word. Procrastination. That's the word I'm using, procrastination. And cooperrush he played like a rash. Like an annoying rash. You got to scratch. You don't want to scratch it, but you know you can't stop scratching. He's a rash. He had 45 yards passing. Is that really what I saw? Maybe I imagined that. Maybe that didn't actually happen. Maybe he had like 45 yards. He averaged in an NFL game, plausibly with practice and all week, he averaged 2 yards per pass play against the Eagles. Now, last I checked, the Philadelphia Eagles are not a great defensive team. There's a couple good players on that team, but they're not amazing. Dallas had 145 yards of offense. That's it against the Philadelphia Eagles, a blood rival. Everyone around him, for cooperrush to succeed, we had said this to some degree, that cooperrush has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect around him for him to succeed. And spoiler alert, the walls are caving in. The walls are caving in. Treylance, now he's a wild card. And I had a epiphany on my long drive in to the studio here. I had an epiphany that what the Cowboys are doing, because Treylance is a wild card, so they're taking the Campbell's Chunky Soup can, kicking it down the road. At some point, they will play Treylance. I'm guessing on Thanksgiving. Yeah, the Cowboys have now replaced the Lions. Let that sink in. It used to be every year at Thanksgiving. I don't want to watch the Cowboys play. Boy, the Lions. I don't want to watch the Lions. They're terrible. Now it's the Cowboys. Now it's the Cowboys are the new Lions, and the Lions are what the Cowboys were supposed to be, but really haven't been since, if you're maybe your dad or your grandpa back in the day. So Treylance will get a chance. I predict on Thanksgiving, and I'm never wrong about these things. And the Cowboys are trying to navigate an obstacle course. And if Lance plays well in his audition, that causes problems for Dak Prescott. Now, Dak Prescott's not going to play the rest of this year, even though some think he might. He's not. But going forward, if Trey Lance shows a little something, then that becomes a problem. Much like in Cleveland when Joe Flacco sparked a little something, and Cleveland's like, well, Deshaun Watson doesn't like that. We got to get rid of Joe Flacco. And so they got rid of Joe Flacco, and now Flacco sucks in Indy apparently, but the Browns brought in famous Jameis because Watson was nervous. Now Watson's hurt.